For sure, being complimented on your yoga body can feel really good. And you can get a little rush that people are noticing. I had what you'd call a yoga body in my younger years. In fact, back in the day, I practiced a lot of yoga, and not for physical fitness, not for the physical fitness aspect, but in order to try to settle my chattering mind and the disruptive emotions that went with it. Only it didn't really help much. I looked good, but it didn't do much for releasing me from the grip of my incessant thoughts. And I bring this up because I see a lot of this very thing in my emotional recovery work with groups. People will report that they've been practicing yoga for years, but have had little success in calming their minds. And in order to understand why this is, we have to understand the way classic Eastern yoga was intended to be practiced, which is far different than how it's popularized in the West. In fact, the word yoga has a far different meaning in the West than the way it's set forth in yogic science in the East. Now, in the East, the term yoga is an umbrella term for a collection, if you will, of steps. And those are called the 8 limbs of yoga. And the idea is to move through those steps to eventually arrive at enlightenment, which is essentially staying in the present moment indefinitely, being in awareness right here, right now, enlightenment, not thinking about the past or worrying about the future, but right here, always. And that's enlightenment. So yogic science sets forth a whole system called the 8 limbs of yoga, where yoga means the union of mind, body, and soul. And we Westerners, on the other hand, have pulled out just one part of that system, which we know as yoga. But the yoga we know is just a very small slice of that whole ancient yogic system. Follow me? So for the most part, the yoga we know that's been popularized since the 60s is mostly a fitness workout rather than a spiritual belief system. So that's why so many who only focus on the yoga practices called asanas didn't or aren't gaining what they desire, and that is training their mind to navigate in calm, centered clarity, free of emotional stress and strife. Now, I'm not going to go through the steps in the 8 limbs of yoga right now, but I just want to talk about how the asanas, the practices, fit into the overall yogic system. The asanas, those practices that we generalize in the West as yoga, is just a component written about in the ancient texts to give guidance on how to make the body strong and healthy. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that Western version of yoga, as it increases wellness in the body and the mind. But under this ancient mind training, then we need to take it to the next level, and that is the breath work that we know in the 8 limbs of yoga as pranayama. And pranayama is breath control. Yoga theory says that breath is the way we interact with the subtle life force energy that surrounds us. And when we're able to make breathing a regular, mindful practice, we're able to invigorate our bodies with this life force and change the way that our central nervous system reacts to stress. And by doing these breathing exercises regularly, you can get really well connected with your breath and learn how to control the different flows of energy in your nervous system, in your brain, in your mind. And when you're able to do that, you can bring yourself into a state of deep meditation that leads to the deep realization of your authentic self, free of difficult emotions, free of pounding and ruminating thoughts. And of course, in my emotions courses, I take people into this next step of self-realization and awakening. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that I believe that psilocybin microdosing and the judicious use of cannabis support this deep inner work. The plant medicines are tools to facilitate expanding your consciousness. And my students agree with this. I encourage you to go to my website, beccawilliams.org, and take a look at what participants are saying. Okay? And how do you think about this? Do you have some thoughts around it? What's been your experience with what I'm talking about? Yoga and meditation. Drop down to the comments section and let me know. I always look forward to hearing from you. I'm Becca Williams, and I want you to truly lead your most magnificent life, and I want to show you how to do that.